Hello again, everyone. We are Gaming by Gaslight, and welcome back to another episode of Curse of the Dead Gods. We continue in our general quest to improve our skill and ability and versatility with this game. Also, of interesting note, for this episode, I'm actually recording from the future, relative to when this video itself was actually recorded. Because for silly reasons on my part, I forgot to change my audio settings after my previous live stream, and though which previous live stream that was, I'm not telling. Anyway, yeah, and so, yeah, this video didn't actually have my audio. So the interesting thing about it, of course, is that I'm going to be, in a way, watching along with you, in a sense, and I'll get a bit of a bird's eye view, as it is, on, yeah, what it is like watching me play. So, with that in mind, I mean, so far so good. It looks like just the usual stuff, just madly whacking the enemies with my sharp and pointy stick until they die, and it mostly tends to work out. We get some nice money, got our stats. I think I swapped our build out here. I did not. I thought for a second there, I might have given us the dexterity gain blessing for this one, but that doesn't really look to be the case. And of course, here we are in perhaps one of my favorite room types. It's quick, it's easy, you get a bunch of money from it. Though I am gonna at some point have to do like an actual analysis on whether having like infinite greed kill kind of renders this room not obsolete, but maybe a bit less valuable, since, you know, once you hit 20 on your greed kill counter, you're making 1,000 times, unless that's just a graphical glitch, of course, you're making 1,000 times gold from just regularly killing enemies, which may or may not make the extra gold from like perception, and of course just the time room challenge in general might make it a little less valuable. But then again, I say that, but getting upwards of 1,500 gold even before you include the perception modifier, yeah, that is pretty useful actually. So, you know what? I take back any hesitation. That room will always be good. And I'm still talking about it even as we are well past it. Also of note, because I'm re-recording the audio over this, I figured, hey, you know what? I'll do something fun and I'll increase the speed by 20%. Just because. No particular reason. Well, I guess because it shortens the length of the video and thus lets me not have to spend as much time just sitting here re-recording audio, and then I can get back to recording full new episodes. I don't know. It's a thought. I mean, we're only about 4 minutes into this thing, and we're doing pretty well so far. I like that. You know, it's nice and relaxing just sitting back here and watching myself play now. Yeah. In any case, yeah, I kind of play very, I mean, playing aggressively seems to mostly work for me. It doesn't give the enemy much time to attack, which is good for the most part, and that the finisher temporarily stuns the enemy anyway, at least as long as we are using a weapon that actually does have stun, like the sword or shield. Or the mace, I believe, as well, also has stun. I think it's only the claws that don't really stun. Well, and the shield only stuns if you use its charged attack. The knife only stuns if you are interrupting an attack, which adds a certain element of risk, though it is a fast weapon, so for the most part, you will have time to get that interrupt in, which is good. You know, I've never tried it, but I don't think the claws have an interrupt on them. So they might. I don't really know if I want to ever pause to find that out. Mostly just because I do obsess with my combos and all that jazz. That was so close to finishing that skeleton off. How unfortunate. But oh well, life goes on as it does. Yeah, just doing a quick check at what our build's looking like. As always, of course, I have to pick up a spear. Poison is always useful, but as I've argued before, I think there's times, it really depends on what enemy you're fighting. Like, I think probably poison on the bosses, for instance, is exponentially more valuable than poison on these regular enemies. And also, if you don't do much damage to begin with, poison becomes more useful because as you're then busy dodging or parrying or what have you, then you end up being set in that fashion. And of course, here we are debating whether we want to actually break our general guideline of not buying anything in the first area. Which actually, now that I think about it, the funny thing about that is if I actually kept the combo going, then it would become considerably more valuable to buy things early on, at least if you're having a run where you don't get a lot of emblems or additional weapons right off the bat. But if you're in the, the early game, and by early game I mean like before you've even unlocked any blessings to modify the start of your run, gold is really limited. So you wouldn't want to buy anything then anyway. But by the time money becomes trivial, you're also in a situation where you don't really need to buy things. Yeah. Also, of course, here we're just doing a little, just a bit of a look to see if taking the right-hand path instead of the left-hand path is better for us. And as we see in this case, it's about the same. I mean, you get the same kind of rooms. Though my preference for following the left-hand path continues. That was a bit of a risky maneuver there, of course. Trying to get a shot in because of my forever obsession with keeping the combo alive. Though, there we go. That's always useful right there. We double our greed kill timer, which naturally makes things easier for us. But what do we get rid of? That's the question. And it's most likely going to be the torture ring. Oh, maybe not. Maybe we're gonna... No, it's going to be the torture ring. And the reasoning behind that, of course, is because, one, we're doing pretty well so far, but, you know, we'll wait and see how long that lasts. And also, because there is... Well, healing with the environment, it's good, but it's very situational. So I figured... I generally figure, hey, you know what? If we're going to get rid of anything, might as well get rid of the situational stuff and stick with things that we know are more or less guaranteed. That way, there is, we're not carrying around a blessing that may not end up actually proving to have long-term value for us. Also, this is going to be a really quick boss fight, and assuming I don't get hit, and because I did give it a day or so before recording this audio, I actually forget whether oh, we're going to totally ace this. I mean, look at that. Yeah. Also, of note, the developers released an update, and by update I mean like just a news update, kind of, you know, giving us an overview of where things are and the state of the game and all that good stuff. And they actually revealed the requirements to get the secret weapons for the Jaguar Lord here. In order to get a chance at him dropping his spear, or javelin, you have to make sure that there's no jaguars in the arena when you kill him. And for the twins, you have to parry the Moon Lord 3 times, I think it is? Something like that. Yeah. For him to have a chance to drop his weapon. Which probably guarantees I will never get that weapon. Well, I should never say never. There's always a possibility of getting these things. But, you know, I wouldn't hold my breath, I guess, is what I'm saying. I mean, we did get it the one time, but, you know, it's always kind of a bit of a crapshoot as I kind of, hesitate to dodge here, but then finally, of course, I clue myself in and think, hey, you know what? If I trigger just a couple of these at a time, then we're good. And, of course, we gotta make sure we get all the side rooms we possibly can, which is good. But also, getting back to the news update, we're also, what else is going on? The next update is going to be just general updates to the temple, which will include new rooms, new challenges, new enemy type, stuff like that. So that's like April's roadmap plan, is just general updates to increase variety. There's also apparently going to be new game modes and stuff like that, which have been requested by players. So that's going to be interesting to see what we end up looking with there. I mean, you know, more is always better. And then I guess that means, presumably, that May is going to be an update adding the Serpent Caverns. Assuming, of course, all goes according to plan, which, you know, given that we are, of course, in a bit of a perilous time. Well, you know, that's probably overselling it. We're in a somewhat uncertain time with this whole pandemic thing still going on. I mean, here in Canada, the latest update is that we can probably expect emergency measures to stay in place until, I think, July. Whether the virus has, you know, run its course by then or not, I guess it would make sense to probably keep measures up even when it looks like things are back to normal for a little bit, just to... And of course, who knows how long this whole thing's gonna last. It may, things may seem that they're going, you know, normal, but then again, the last, like, big, well, the one I keep hearing, as, like, the big, comparison to what we've got going on now, the last big global pandemic was the early 1900s Spanish flu / influenza, outbreak, which apparently came in, like, 3 waves, though... What I also have heard regarding this whole coronavirus thing is that it mutates fairly slowly by virus standards, so the odds of it actually, like, coming back in multiple waves are less likely. Though, of course, you know, I'm not an expert, and who knows? All I can say is what I've read, and what I've read may not always be accurate, because, you know, the internet... Everyone knows that the internet is where anyone can say anything, even if it's not true. So... yeah, I guess just the obvious knowledge there is to just kind of continue staying the course, being careful about things, practicing good hygiene, social distancing, giving up our chance for the Titan Slayer there, I see. Not bad. Oh, I left a relic back there. I didn't notice that, actually. Well, I feel kind of bad. That could have been a good relic. I mean, I might not have taken it, but that would have been an interesting, thing to see, huh? It's interesting, the things you don't notice when you're in the middle of playing. Like, I forget exactly what, like, where I was. I think that's the first hit we've taken this entire run. Not bad. Not bad at all, I say. But anyway, like, what was I commenting at this point when I was actually commenting? Probably something silly, but, yeah, I don't know. That's the thing that I always, you know, come back and appreciate when I, you know, I think about, like, what actually got me into, you know, trying my hand at making my own YouTube channel was, when I went to university. That's actually when I first started watching Let's Plays and such, because I found I had a lot more free time on my hands, you know, at least in my first few years, than I would have thought. And because when I first went to university, I thought, oh, you know what, you know, like TV and movies and stuff make it seem like university is like this big, like, really big deal where you're going to be like busy all the time. You're not going to have time for other things. And so I thought, you know what? I won't bring any video games with me. I'll, focus entirely on my studies because I probably won't have time to play silly, childish video games. Not that I ever actually had that mindset, mind you, but because part of being an adult is realizing that being afraid of appearing childish is probably the most childish thing of all. Anyway, but yeah, I had a bunch of spare time, started watching Let's Plays, and then eventually I thought to myself, hey, you know what? Why don't I try my hand at this? And, I mean, if nothing else, having a YouTube channel and playing video games on it, it basically just gives me an excuse to keep playing video games. Because, hey, I've got an audience now, I've got, expectations to uphold, so can't just stop playing video games now. I mean, though, frankly, I'd probably keep playing video games even if I didn't have this channel, but they do provide it does provide a nice excuse to keep playing. And of course, the most important part I think about having this YouTube channel is that by playing for an audience, I am able to share my gameplay experiences, which in some way kind of reminds me of either my brother watching me while I played video games, or me watching him. So I was never really, growing up anyway, much one for like watching other people play. I always preferred to be the one in the gamer seat. But there's that certain social experience that comes from sharing these sort of things. And in a fashion, having this channel, it's like having you guys sitting on the couch behind me watching me play, though not in. Well, if it were live streaming, then it becomes real time, and you can correct me on my errors or point me in the right direction, or just share how you're doing and all that good stuff. Just chat about life. The pretty nice thing. And also, of course, this is probably one of the most valuable blueprints we could have. But what are we going to replace? I'm thinking it's going to be the fire damage, because while the extra damage with our flaming claws is useful, I figure it's more useful to, if a single hit can't do more than 10% of our health. Because then, of course, that means if we're at full health, Mr. Jaguar God can't kill us in less than 10 hits. So, that's good. Gives us a little bit more breathing room. Especially on hard mode, of course, because enemies do much more damage on hard mode. Which, as I believe I've said before, but what I think I like the most about hard mode is that it doesn't make the enemies into like bullet sponges, or damage sponges, I guess. They die just as quickly as they do on normal mode. They just do more damage. They may attack faster. They may be a bit more aggressive, I think. Well, I don't know if they attack faster, but I think they attack more often. They're somewhat more aggressive, I think. And I think there might be more enemies relative to regular normal mode. Maybe. Not sure about that. I mean, if there are more enemies, then that also makes some of our blessings considerably more valuable, doesn't it? Since we end up in a situation where with more enemies, we can get our greed combo up faster, which means we get all the benefits of said greed combo even quicker, which is good. I've got to be honest, watching back on this, have I literally only been hit once so far? I'm actually, it's actually been a pretty good run. I'm feeling kind of good about it. And by kind of good, I mean really good, actually. Things are going, actually, a lot better. I sometimes think to myself, maybe I get a little too... I mean, I've said this before, and I'll no doubt say it again, but I definitely have a problem in my life where I have a hard time making mistakes. By which I mean, like, I make mistakes just as easy as anyone. I guess it's just, I don't know. For almost as long as I can remember, I've had a certain, like, obsession with being perfect, or at least appearing perfect. I don't know why, exactly. It's not like I, didn't get support, or like, or anything like that. But, I don't know. I take making mistakes or appearing less than perfect really badly. Like, personally. And I'm not even sure these days if it has anything to do with, like, being bothered by appearing less than perfect to others. It's become, like, something just internalized within myself, where being less than perfect is this, like, awful thing. But as of course we've seen, when I dwell on that too much, what tends to happen, of course, is I just make more and more and more mistakes. Though it does seem with this run so far, I've managed to mostly avoid that, as we've, you know, we've only been hit once, we've only lost our combo once. And these are actually all pretty good things. Oop, that was a bit of a risky maneuver, but because we got away with it, I will say that, that was pretty good. I think, trying to think to myself, I may have got hit on this boss fight. And if I did, it was probably because of, maybe trying to be a little, too aggressive. Another thing I'm also thinking is, like, the music sounds different to me watching this back. Oh, you know why that is? It's because I'm playing this back at like 20% speeds, or 120% speed, so it's playing slightly faster. I was about to say, oh, you know, it's kind of funny how even the music of a game can sound different when you're, you know, watching it back. But no, it's because I have things faster. Which, to be honest, listening to that track at, you know, like 20% faster than normal is not bad, actually. It's kind of nice. And also, this is where the title of this episode is going to start making sense. I think am I gonna swap this out for something, or am I going to... Oh, Gaslight. What are you thinking? You gonna get rid of your 15% critical damage? Possibly. Trying to stack the damage for that relic. I'm actually not entirely sure if, like, if I have two of those, like, more damage based on gold, if they, like, if the damage limit is combined between the two of them, or if they each have a, hey, the more damage, or the more gold you have, they can each add up to 200% more damage separately. It's actually an interesting thought that I never really considered before, because if they're added separately, I guess that means that each of them adds a 300% bonus, or a 200% bonus, which would cumulatively, depending on how they're added, end up with a 300% bonus. Or it would be, it adds 200% and then 200% on top of that 200%. Which actually kind of gets me wondering here exactly, how is damage added? You know, like, if I have a plus 200 bonus, for instance, and then I get another bonus that adds, like, plus 50, do I have a 250% bonus, or is it a 200 bonus and then a 50 bonus on top of that? Like, on top of the 200 bonus after things are calculated. Never really thought about that, and I mean, I think it probably makes more sense that your overall damage bonus is probably added cumulatively, or additively, I believe is what I'm looking at here. So, you know, you get like a 100% bonus, then another 100% bonus, so you have overall a 200% bonus, and then, you know, a 50% bonus adds another 50, so you have 250%. Because I'm pretty sure the other way, that's multiplicatively, if I am remembering my, my stuff correctly. Yeah. Like, if you had 100%, and then you add another 100% bonus on top of that, and that would be more than if you just had a 200% bonus, I think. You know, I could probably bust out the old calculator and try calculating that, but I don't think I will. I'll just leave it in my head that hopefully I actually understand how math works and how bonuses are applied to things, because, you know. I think I left something back there. There was either gold or a relic or something that I didn't actually, or maybe a crystal skull that I didn't actually go back to check what it was. Also, this hammer is proving really useful, and I should probably address why did I decide to switch from the spear to the hammer. Well, I don't want to... I think I've also had this discussion before, but I'll have it again, where I don't want to let myself get trapped as... oh dear. There we go. This is where it all starts going downhill, I think. But I want to practice using other weapons because, I mean, as we can see right here, these heavy hammers are actually pretty good, and every single attack with a hammer stuns the enemy. Man, could you imagine if the game was this fast just normally? Like, do you see how fast those balls shot out? I mean, it actually kind of makes me think of, what is it, like supersonic mode or fast mode or whatever it's called in Enter the Gungeon. Ooh boy. That would be something. That actually would make an interesting challenge just if the game was 20% faster. Or more. Just regularly. But then I still had my mere humanoid 100% reaction time. Well, yeah, I mean, my reaction time can never be more or less what it is. So, yeah. Unless I consumed copious amounts of illicit narcotics that may or may not alter my brain functions. That could improve my reaction time. But at what cost? At what cost? And also, it looks like I have learned some lessons, because here we are smashing some of these jaguar heads, because we know that they have the potential to end up shooting fire at us, and we would rather not let ourselves get caught up, especially because the big thing to remember with heavy weapons is that you have a notable delay after you attack. With fast weapons, you can actually cancel your animation. I don't think I can cancel animation out of a heavy swing, so you gotta make sure with heavy weapons, they do a lot of damage, but you gotta make sure you choose your time to attack wisely. And that, for example, was not wise. And I assume, given the fact that that did 200 damage to us, that probably would have done more if we didn't have that damage reduction buff. Or damage limiter buff. So an interesting turn of events all told. Alrighty then. And a dagger. It is a pretty decent dagger, to be honest with you. Yep. Just, oh, I actually did decide to take it. We'll find out shortly whether that was a wise choice or not. Also trying to think to myself whether, because we're going to be doing a couple of heavy weapon runs for practice type purposes, and we are starting to spend blood here. Got to keep our damage bonus high. But yeah, we're going to see how well this goes. I know that some of our upcoming runs are probably not going to end that well for us as a result of using heavy weapons, but sooner or later, it'll click in my head how to appropriately approach heavy weapons, knowing when to attack, when to withdraw, etc., etc. This is an interesting time, of course, as there's one more... Is there one more enemy? I feel like there was one more enemy hiding in the shadows back there, but nope, I got him. Guess that's the scary part of Shadow Word. It's very, very possible to lose track of your enemies. I'm kind of surprised... Well done. I'm kind of surprised that in the heat of the moment, I hadn't forgot about any enemies over there. Of course, also at this point, I'm actually kind of getting more, oh, that was a bad maneuver right there. Let the traps get to my head. Though that was an interesting room layout. It's just, it's mostly traps rather than jaguar statues. which, you know, interesting layout. I hope I don't get that layout again, personally. And by again, I mean, you know, I hope that's a rare layout, which I assume it is, because that's only the first time we've ever run across something quite like that. Do we want to swap our Jaguar Hammer for the Stonebreaker? The answer is not really. It does a bit less damage. Though, the upside to the Stone Hammer is that we wouldn't run the risk of accidentally blowing ourselves up if we encountered, you know, any kind of explosive pots or stuff like that, which can be a good thing. And if we had the curse that causes enemies to explode when they die if they're on fire, not having the Jaguar Hammer could be useful. But then again, seeing as we do knock enemies backwards when we hit them, we would be in a pretty reasonably safe position to not get hit. So that would be good for us. So I also notice here, reflecting back on this, it seems like the later into a run I get, the more reckless I become in terms of actually attempting to avoid damage. And I also just noticed there that I have two relics that have the same effect. Not entirely sure what I was thinking with that one. In fact, I think part of the reason I kept both of those, one of those was like a 15% damage limiter, and the other was the 10% damage limiter. And I think the only reason I kept both of them is because I was kind of curious if they had any interaction with each other. I believe the conclusion I came to is no, they do not. But, you know, it's always worth experimenting with these things. I mean, would it have been possible if you have a 15% damage limiter and a 10% damage limiter if somehow they interact so you take even less damage? But the answer is no, because one is obviously a lower number than the other, so yeah. They do not stack as far as I could tell. Now maybe I should pay attention to the damage numbers going into this boss fight, and if the numbers are less than 200, then we know that the answer is in fact yes. Stacking damage limiters works. Oh, this actually would have been a good, or that spear would have been good to take, seeing as the finisher weakens enemies and thus allows us to hit more. This does more damage by a little bit than our Jaguar Hammer. Though, do we want that? I guess is the question. I think I ultimately decide yes because of the plus 30% against burning enemies, and if I recall, Jaguar God does tend to set himself on fire, so there's a chance there. Though I'm also getting a feeling, and of course here we are just testing to make sure that, like, these are both the same type of weapon, so I believe that they have the same animations and attack speed and everything. But it's always worth just being safe, even though they are effectively just variations on each other. It's always better to be safe than sorry. You gotta make sure that you know what it is you're doing. And by know what it is you're doing, of course, I mean, it's always good to test, experiment, make sure that what you think is... Am I even gonna land a hit on this guy? I think the answer ends up being yes. Almost set myself on fire. But yeah, the good thing about this is, as long as we can hit him, he does get stunned. Though, I think something we're gonna end up seeing here is, well, actually that right there is a good bit of proof that when bosses are in the middle of an attack animation, you can't interrupt them. Which is kind of unfortunate. Also, did I get rid of the 10% damage limiter? Because we are... Oh no, we have... Our health is now 2,500, so... Alright. Yeah, that ultimately took us out on account of him just being so fast. So that's going to do it for this episode. Until the next time, as always, thank you all for watching. I hope you all enjoyed. Don't forget to hit that like button, or maybe leave me a comment down below. Let me know what you're thinking, and I'll see all you in the next video.